Okay, I think so. I'm going to start out real quick. I got a couple things. Ben, um, Carson Wentz was traded today. So I put up an online story, but I did not make a print version of it. MVP just wanted to get something online right away. So, and apparently Fargo can't do that themselves. Um, so I put up an online story, but you might want to share out whatever they end up doing for print with the other North Dakota pubs. Um, so just a heads up there. And Class A, I sent a note about the, not a note, but I talked to a few people about the uh, Minnesota Class A roundup that we're doing. So if you're working with some Minnesota pubs for the state hockey tournament, like if you're doing Duluth tonight and they've got a Hermantown story, you obviously want to remove Hermantown from the roundup because it'll be in twice then. Same with Grand Forks. If you're doing Grand Forks, you don't need the Warroad story and blah blah blah. So just be aware of that and work with your designers to make sure that I don't know the best way to do that. Just have the designer take it off on the page, or because if you kill it off, the master file, it'll kill it off for everybody. So, just work with your designers to get that done. So that's sports. The rest of the budget's coming together okay. I'm going to be working into the night because of the sports stuff. So I'm going to try to attack a lot of the feature stuff that's coming in. And so hopefully I'll have that linked up and get that onto the Friday and Saturday digests and stuff like that. One thing I want to bring up, I know Alicia's got a couple things. But when you are checking for modulus, when you're doing your obits, remember also to check for paid business briefs and other kind of paid content. We had one almost get through yesterday on one of the print pubs where we didn't we had a paid business brief and we almost didn't get it in. And that causes a lot of headaches down the road, and it's revenue and all that kind of stuff. So let's just make sure we be checking those. And that's about all I have right now. So Alicia.
All right. I had a question about when we have issues with ads and what the process is for pulling an ad. We're going to take a house ad out for more editorial space, that kind of thing. So, excuse me, all the ads are managed by the Layout Center. So if you open a page and there's an issue with an ad, if it's before 6 p.m., you can go ahead and go in the Layout Center Slack room and say, Form A7 has an ad missing, but the page is verified or whatever. If it's after that, talk to the hub manager because sometimes they could troubleshoot that stuff. And if they can't, then they're able to just reach out to whoever is on call in the Layout Center. In terms of pulling an ad for more editorial space, that's a local decision. So again, you can let the hub manager know, and then they can talk to Layout Center and the local advertising person to decide that. That is not going to be a decision that we make. If they choose not to, then we have to figure out how to make the content work without that space. And if they do want to, that has to come to us through the local site, then to the Layout Center or the pod or the hub, but not us. A reminder that the Q Publishing folders should be mostly empty when you leave for the night. Everything that you use should be moved to ready for print. And if you see old stuff in there, stuff that's dated a few days ago, or all the stuff that's there's a lot of old stuff. Things that were last edited like a month ago are still in our publishing folders. So please take some time to clear those all out. We need to keep those Relatively clean, so it's easier for us to find our stuff.
Okay, I gotta bring something up here just to so when we're cleaning out their production folders, you want us to clean out things that we've dealt with, right? That we know that we've touched or things like that, or do you want us to go back and start clearing out shit from October?
Yeah, I would say stuff that we know that we've touched for sure. But then, yeah, if there's stuff with the slug line that's from a week ago, a month ago,
Do
put it in
we
the ready for print, clean it out.
just put it into ready for print? Don't
Yep.
delete it.
Yeah,
Okay.
do not delete anything ever from the ad folder or for their ready to print folder. Don't delete anything, but just be moving stories from the main folder into ready for print.
Okay.
Yep.
If they're duplicates or web only stuff, then we're just cluttering up ready for print and we're moving one problem to the other.
Yeah, but the sites aren't using ready for print because if it's web only stuff, it's not like they're going into the folder for it. We're the only ones working out of that folder.
Right. So why would we want to move their old stuff into our working folders?
Are you working out of the ready for print folder? I guess I never
Yeah.
opened that.
I mean, once I move everything there. But you're saying
You've
don't
already
delete
linked stuff. So what are you
anything.
doing going back in the folder? I don't understand. I feel like I'm missing something. So if
I'm
something's in
unclear
the
on
ready
what
for
we
publishing
should
folder,
or shouldn't be moving, and I thought that I thought we were only dealing with the files that we're using in print and that we moved to ready for print.
I do that too because it helps me keep track of what has actually been looked at by me. So I put it in ready for print as opposed to if someone goes in there and if a local editor goes in there and hits republish, then I know that they've been messing with it. I need to go back and fix something.
Mm-hmm.
Same. I've had the same issue where I've gone and needed to grab something old for Duluth that they're using in their Saturday print edition, and they're using like an e-edition, something from the week that I go in there and grab, and there's been multiple versions of it in the ready for print folder. So then I had to figure out what was actually the most recent, and I hope to God it is. I mean, we try to do my best, but that, yeah, I agree with Meredith. That kind of causes a little bit of a headache on our end when we know what's been edited and we're moving it into ready for print, but then now we're just going to put anything in there.
well,
I've also noticed another problem. A couple of papers have done this, like Duluth, especially. One of the templates that they've been working out of for Duluth is from a month ago. So when you publish it, it's not because it doesn't refresh anymore
Mhm.
and go back to the top. It's from February 18th or whatever. So you got to go back and either search for it in the drive, but then sometimes the slugs don't match up. So I don't know if there's a way to tell them not to use. I guess I don't know how to make it so that they're not using these templates that are already published.
Mhm.
They're working from a template that they just basically republish or something. I don't exactly know how.
okay. Are they linking the bright spot link for it?
What was that?
When they link that on their budget, are they linking the bright spot link?
Yeah.
Well, you can just go in there and change the slug on it then.
Yeah, that's true.
And then it will output as the current date.
But I mean, so sometimes there is confusion with that, though. I guess is what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Or if something Duluth does this a lot too. They'll have something that they have put in there that was already used in print, and they want to fix it for print. I don't know. Sometimes it just can be very confusing with the templates that they're using. So I don't know if there's a way just to note that if we can figure something like that out, because
Yeah, it's totally reasonable, Jack, for you to send them an email, copy Matt and I, explaining these things are causing some issues. Could we possibly do this? And then, work that out with them. That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I never actually go into the ready for print folder, or if I do, it's just because I'm looking for something old, but then I just search. I don't actually look through the ready for print folder because I open it in the main folder and then I get it linked up on the budget. So then I can find it without going into ready for print, I guess. So I feel like I'm still a little bit confused because you already have the link because you put it on the budget. So you're going into it in the ready for print folder because
I mean,
You're
That's
searching
where I do
for
all
it.
my work so that it's protected. I move it first and then I make my edits so that it isn't overwritten while I'm making my edits.
Okay, well, nothing's going to be overwritten anymore because we've changed the way the system works and it drops the stuff with timestamps. So nothing is ever overwritten. So that's not an issue anymore. So you can work out of everything in the regular production folder and then move it to ready for print once you're done with it.
But like the example I mentioned for Duluth, when we're grabbing stuff from the previous week,
Mhm.
there's multiple versions of it in the ready for print folder. So obviously multiple people are formatting the same story over and over.
Yeah, but you should be able to just search that slug in Drive and then sort by date modified, and it will give you the newest one.
That only works if they use the same slugs
Right.
on the budget as they do in Brightspot. And
And
has been
sometimes there's
causing
just
problems.
multiple folders of the same slug with multiple Google Docs.
Yeah, so then you either need to just use the bright spot link to output a brand new one, so you know for sure that's the latest, or just look at the timestamps on them. Everything has those timestamps now, so you know exactly when it was exported.
Yeah, I've run into that a little bit too. I mean, now with my role, I generally, I just work out of Fargo mainly, and then it's a statewide story. I move it to the FNS out, Minnesota folder. And since a lot of that stuff, I'm the only one touching it. I haven't ran into any problems like that, but I could see where, um, especially those papers that do that rerunning, like it seems like Duluth really does that a lot. Where they run something on Saturday, but then they're going to run it in Tuesday print or Wednesday print, and so maybe they edit some things out.
Or even sometimes it'll be they pushed a web version early. Like I think that Lake Superior Ice one, they published it on Monday, used it in the web edition on Tuesday or Wednesday, and then they saved it for print on Saturday. I'm just like, so they did really have 3 different versions because we were putting it into the ready for print folder when we were done with it, and then the next person was doing the same thing, and didn't know that there was another one in the ready for print. Like that, I think that also happens a lot.
I usually for that, like, because usually you, Jack, you work on the e-editions, and then I'll usually, like, it will say that Jack made this or modified this file, and then I'll just go, and if it's the same one that's online currently, then I'll just go with the one that has your name on it. So that's something that has helped me if I could work for anyone else.
Okay, well, I
So
think
back to the original request from Alicia about deleting files. I just
Not
want-
deleting. Don't delete anything. Just move.
But what I was trying to say is
Yep.
if we are not deleting files and if we're just moving them from one place to another, we still have the clutter issue and we still have Google Drive space issue.
We don't have any
I
Google
feel like
Drive
it's
space
moving a
issues.
mess from one place to another. Why
Mhm.
can't we just delete? Well, I mean, we've discussed why, but I'm just
Okay.
unclear.
Is-
Yep.
is there a way to, I mean, I don't know if this is true for Google folders, but is there a way that we could, like anything older than X days in the ready for print folder just gets, or something like that? I mean, I do agree that the production folders for the local papers are atrocious, and I'd like to delete a lot of shit. But yeah, I think moving it, because you could select 100 files, move it from one to the other, but then they're
Well,
still rare.
You know how long it takes? I did that the other day with the national sports folder.
Yeah.
There were probably like 2,000 folders in there, and it would take probably 15 minutes to do, even
Yeah.
just like selecting like 100 of them or something and doing it at the time. It takes.
I actually did that for Grand Forks once. I moved everything over to ready for print, and I selected
That's
I was
good.
selecting 70 of them at a time, and moved to ready for print, and it would just blue spin of death for a while.
But I mean,
And
I'm looking right now. I'm looking at Wilmer right now. The earliest thing they have in here is from February of 2021. That is going to take a long time to.
What if there's like an archive folder within the ready for print folder, kind of like how they do with the dummies, and then just do like a 2022 archive, and then you can put anything that you don't want in your ready to print folder into another folder. So then like you're not deleting anything, but that stays clear.
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, we could create, yeah, because you can create subfolders within, within the ready for print Fargo, whatever. You could have then within ready for print, you could have another subfolder, 2021 archive or something like that. It's just going to take a lot of for lack of a better term, busy work to move all those. So
Yeah, and I'm not
Yeah, I mean, we'll
expecting
do
that
it.
like somebody's
We'll-
going to get everything from Wilmer and move it out tonight. But
Yeah.
Really, the stuff drops right into the production folder. So I feel like it's easiest if we work directly out of that production folder and not the ready for print folder, especially now that we do not have to have any concerns about things being overwritten. Now that we don't have to worry about that at all, we can work out of that production folder. And so if we can keep the old stuff out of that production folder, then it keeps that folder really easy to use. I understand that there are times when we are going back and getting older things, but Google has a pretty good search function built in, and the site should still be linking a bright spot link. So worst case scenario, you can just output a new one, which will drop into the production folder. I'm absolutely open to an archive folder within Ready for Print or anything like that. We do not need to worry about any kind of storage issues. Our company Google plan has been changed, so we have unlimited storage. So we don't need to worry about storage. And that's why I'm asking please don't delete anything, because I know that some of the reporters do use Google as an archive. So if they're looking for something, they will type in that person's name and then, bring up those stories. And, now the photos are attached and things like that. Q had a really powerful image search function so that the reporters could search for images within it. And Brightspots works a little bit differently. I've heard a couple of reporters say that it's easier for them to search in Google for the story that they know the photo ran with before and then pull it from there. So that's why we are not going to delete anything. And especially since there's no issues related to storage space. Additionally, just for legal reasons, I don't think we should be deleting versions of any stories, because I'm paranoid and worry about that kind of thing. Yes, Matt?
I just want to point out there's a dog.
There is a dog. Emma, you have to unmute and talk so that your dog is visible on the screen.
Here she is in her spot.
I was going to say, is that where she usually sits?
Yep. That's why mom has back pain all the time.
Okay. If she could go a little lower, it'd be like one of those lumbar support pillows, right?
That usually works when she's sleeping, because then she's
Okay.
more like a log and it works really great.
right.
You sit.
Okay. All right. I like it. Good ergonomics. All right. Meredith?
So you just mentioned not wanting to delete anything for legal reasons, and I get that because paper trail receipts. But does that also apply to all the different versions within a folder? And then how do we make sure that the designers are using the right version? Like when you have a production folder and you have 6 different versions of the same file,
Right.
each time
Well,
it was
within
saved.
that folder, whatever the newest one is, that's the one we should be opening, and then link the document directly.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
But
So
I'm
then
also
if you do
deleting the
that,
previous
None,
versions.
I promise you, none of the designers are going to go, oh, what folder is this in? And then go back and take a different version. They're going to take the one that's linked. So they'll take the linked document.
But can we delete those? I mean, like sometimes when I'll call up
Mhm.
I'll kick out a pub and call up the folder, and within the folder there are 3 files of that story.
Mhm.
And they're time stamped, like you said, and the newest one's at the top. So I just take the other 2 and I delete them. And then I just link to the newest one.
Yeah. I
And
guess
that's
I
okay.
haven't been bothering to delete anything when I've been doing that, just because doesn't seem necessary, but I think it's okay to do that. If
Okay.
that helps you, to have just the one in there, that's fine.
Okay, and just a heads up, there are some things where I don't push online. Like most, I mean, I would say 90% of what I do for the pod content digest, I'm going through online. But there are some things that I just do with a folder. And and so in that case, sometimes I do link, on like the Minnesota State page, I'll have one link to a document and one link to a folder. So I think that's fine. But because in that case, the photo is within the folder, not the document, if you get what I mean. So
Yeah, if you've pulled a wire story and created a folder, then
Yeah.
link the folder. It's just with the with the stuff that comes out of Brightspot, so the folder's already within the thing to do that.
and there's an issue with Duluth not Duluth doesn't want to run TNS stuff. So sometimes when I'm doing a Minnesota State page, I'll do it up in a folder format, even though online I did it as a bright spot, but when I actually put it to the page, because that's the one that Duluth will grab, if they do tend to run it in, because it never went online, but if in a pinch they needed to run it, they could grab it from that folder. So just a heads up. Yeah, I think cleaning up like I said, I think cleaning up the production folders. I was really hoping to leave that to the local editors, but I mean, we can do it, but it's going to take it. Like you said, it's not going to be done overnight, and it's going to take.
No, it's not. It's
I mean,
Um,
is that something that IT can do for us? I mean,
Hmm?
is that something IT can do for us?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
I mean,
I could certainly ask.
I don't know.
It's a good point. I mean, maybe they have a quicker something that they can grab all
Yeah.
files with this.
I
in it.
also, like I did a few earlier because I was thinking about something and I needed something kind of mindless to do while I was thinking. So I just cleaned out folders while I was trying to find a solution. Totally worked. Found it. So, but yeah, if you're working tonight and you've got 3 minutes and you can move 100 stories, great. We'll just be working on it. And then try to make sure that your new stuff you're moving down there into that
I
folder.
say we hire an intern and abuse them and make them do it, but that's just me.
Does anybody have like a 14-year-old we could? It's legal to hire them for stuff. Okay. So other stuff, the designers talked to me a little bit about this, and so I'm going to clarify it for them, but I want to make sure that we're on the same page. When you're linking local stuff and you have notes, make sure that the notes in the notes field in the document and the budget notes are, if not identical, at least similar. There's been a couple where the notes have been totally conflicting, which I think is probably like one of those the site had put notes on and the other one we put notes on to fix whatever the site's bad notes were. So just keep an eye out for that. And then I did remind designers that stories that are pulled from other papers, FNS stories, wire stories, that we're not able to edit the notes field on those because that would edit it for everybody. So on those, they need to make sure that they're looking at budget notes because the budget notes are what's going to be specific to the publication they're working on. So questions on that? Okay. And then the other thing has to do with must-run content, optional content that's not used. We have had a few issues lately of must-run content clearly labeled must-run on the budget, not making it into print. And I don't know if that's, a designer saying, hey, I don't have room for this, and us saying, okay, but forgetting to communicate that to the site, or if that's the designer going, I don't have room for this, and then not communicating it to us. So during the designer meeting tomorrow, I'm going to make it very, very clear that if there's anything that's not labeled optional, that they can't get in, that they need to have a conversation with you. If it's labeled must run, we need to run it. And if we can't, then the editor needs to be alerted to that. Yeah, Emma?
I just have a question about that. And I think it's more so like with Dickinson, for example, like their news section, the A book on the Wednesday print edition, that's all must run local content. And so at first I started marking everything like must run, must run, must run,
Mhm.
especially if I'm using any optional filler if I need to.
Yep.
But when I don't need any optional filler, I'm not marking it all must run. I haven't had any issues with things not running, but it's just kind of like, how in depth do you want us to get with that? Because it's kind of
I've told designers, and I'm going to clarify again for them tomorrow, if it's not labeled optional, that means it's must run. We don't have to put must run on it. It's must run if it's not labeled otherwise.
Okay.
Yep. Meredith?
That's what I was gonna say is that
Okay.
they should assume that it's must run unless it says if
Mm-hmm.
needed or optional or a filler or whatever.
Right. Yeah. So just make sure that stuff that's optional, that you're always putting optional, So if you put some wire sports on, 3 different of their pages and all those stories are optional, make sure on each page that it says that that's optional. So the designer knows that they can prioritize local photos over it, things like that. And then when it comes to the optional content, I'm asking the designers to make sure that they communicate with you once they've done a section to say whether they used it or not. It's not such a big deal in, say sports, because if I don't put in the Wolves report, it probably doesn't matter for the next day's paper because there's going to be a different, but we had an instance, we've had it a few times actually, where we've copied the letters for an opinion page over, and there was like 6 letters and the designer used 3 of them. But when things were copied over, they were all crossed off. So the editor thought they were all used. And then the reader called and was like, when is my letter going to run? It's been weeks. And it turns out that we had just crossed it off as one of the optionals, but then the designer only used 3 and we didn't communicate that back. So what I'm asking designers to do is once they finish a section or a page that has optional, to make sure that they alert you of whether or not they used the optional. So if I'm putting together Rochester opinion, then when I'm done, I'm going to send Meredith a note that says I used 4 letters. I didn't use Larson or the other Larson, and then Meredith can make sure that those are not crossed out on the pub's budget, pub's content list. We need to make sure that we're clearly communicating that. Again, for some of the sections, it's not as big of a deal, but it is a big deal for some of them. So we just need to get in the habit of doing that and making sure that we're accurate with what we crossed off under optional.
Yeah, and I think it is especially true for the editorial pages because those are done by the editors.
Mhm.
And we've said, hey, we don't want to do your editorial pages for you. You do them. So we want to make sure that we're getting in what they want to get in, and because they'll hold a letter a day or two. Obviously they'd like more to run in print on print days, but they'll also run them in the e-edition. So
Yep. Yeah. And those letters are, they're reader generated content. And so, they're part of what draws people to the paper. And so it's important that we don't skip them because, if a reader then gets upset over it and, then they're like, oh, this paper didn't run my letter because, my opinions are too inflammatory or because they're communist or, whatever. So just keeping track of that helps us just avoid that problem altogether, which I'd rather do. And I know all of our editors would rather do, so they don't have to get the phone calls. So yeah, overall, we just need to make sure that we're really clearly communicating. Like I said, I have a meeting with the designers tomorrow where I'm going to talk through this same thing, that we just need to make sure that we're really talking to each other, getting on the same page, making sure that things are accurately reflected on the budget and that we've got it all together. Just make sure that we're working cohesively as a team. So, all right. Anybody have any other questions, issues? Yeah, Meredith.
Just a reminder to everybody that I'm going to be out the next couple of weeks after today. I'll be back on Sunday, the 27th.
All right. Everyone wish Meredith a very good 2 weeks off. She can sleep at night and maybe give her eyes a rest from staring at screens all day.
Hopefully.
All right.
Please keep me on stuff that comes up so I know when I get back.
All right. Anything else?
no, I don't think so. Like I said, the next few days I'm going to be, tomorrow morning I'll probably do the same thing where probably clock in around noonish tomorrow. Just because with the state hockey tournament, and I think Ben, you've got North Dakota high school basketball, don't you, this weekend? Yeah, there's nothing worse than Class B basketball in North Dakota. I don't care. Just nothing. So yeah, I think there's going to be some late proofing help at night. Just because there's going to be a ton of sports pages coming in on the clock, and so just a heads up. I think there's college hockey playoffs as well. So anyway, it's that time of year, and so on these days, especially when on Friday, and then on Friday, what I'll probably do is work early and try to get the early pubs done, clock out for a little bit late afternoon, and then come back and help at night on Friday.
Okay.
Um,
And then Joe will
that's-
be in on Saturday, so Joe will be able to help.
Yeah.
Joe's covering a hub shift, but.
Yeah. And we think we've got a pretty good plan too for covering the state high school hockey tournament. We'll see if the first story just came in and looked okay. So, but I want to see how that roundup goes tonight. So I think we'll have a pretty good plan to get that linked in a timely manner. And for some of you who might have earlier deadline, we'll link a version so at least some pubs can get something in. And I'm not going to say the word. It has to do with hockey. And if you say it, I'll make you work every Sunday for you never say that word during this time of year, but it can happen, and we'll just have to adjust. So,
All right. Nobody say the word.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to say, thank you all. I feel like things are going really well. We've got, all of our basics set. And right now we're just figuring out, ways to get our communication smoother, still be keeping an eye out for those wire stories that we can use to do, more graphic presentations, things like that. We're working on perfecting the system, making this work better, making your job easier, all of those things. So whatever ideas you have for that, please be communicating that with me. The next couple of weeks are busy, but my plan is right at the beginning of April to have one-on-ones with all of you, talk to you, see how things are going for you, what you got going on, questions, anything like that. But yeah, I appreciate you all individually and as a team, and you've been doing really good work. And I know you're not getting much recognition, but I know that it's much appreciated from many corners of the company. So thank you all. I appreciate your existence. All right. Have a great day.
bye, everybody.